I think that also online participants can hear us. Yes. So this session is co-hosted by the Dynamic Teen Coalition and the Youth Coalition on Internet Governance, with will to address the evolving demands on the workforce shaped by the AI, quantum computing, and blockchain infrastructures, and robotics. The focus will be on identifying innovative educational strategies and career paths that adapt to nowadays technologies. Participants will discuss interdisciplinary learning, project-based models, micro-credentials, tech appreciations, lifelong learning platforms, and language divide, also gender divide, aiming to align educational and professional development with the future technological landscapes. This session is roundtable session, so we'll guide dialogue on educational systems and employment. Also going through the digital divide and the existing gaps in the countries that have less access to the digital literacy, empowerment and infrastructure. According to UNESCO, around 3.6 billion people worldwide still lack reliable internet access, and in the developing countries, access to digital literacy and infrastructure is limited. By the ITU reports, the only 19% of the individuals in the least developed countries use the internet, compared to the 87% in the developed countries. There is no longer a clear pathway to success through education. A report by the MC Kinsley Global Institute suggests that by 2030, up to 800 million jobs worldwide could be lost to automation, representing 1/5 of the global workforce. As the Youth and the Teen Dynamic Coalition on Internet Governance, we see as a part of our responsibility to promote this dialogue on the perspective of education and future consideration the advancements of the technology and the internet. With this, I want to give the floor now to participants. First, I will go with the on-site participants and then on the online participants. Give the floor to give introduction and why their statement is very important here in this panel, and also to give us answer on what are their personal views on the current situation of education and employment, especially on the topic of the youth. I mean, this is the panel for the youth, but we can also cover other areas, but here this question is to the topic on the youth. I would give the first question to Ananda Gautam to introduce himself and try to answer his personal point of view.
Thank you, Marco, for inviting me here, and I think I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So my name is Ananda Gautam. I'm from Nepal. So I'm also coordinator for the Asia Pacific region from the Youth Coalition on Internet Governance, and I lead various other youth initiatives in global, regional, and national level. So my major engagement is capacity building of young people. So as Marco said, the challenges of education and young people. So we are in a very kind of situation where a lot of digitization has been happened. I can reflect when I think if someone is from the 90s, like we can say the Gen Z has been so much kind of like in the digitalized world. We were not that much connected because we grew up with the technology, I believe. In the 90s, the technology was just thriving on the public sector. It was the 70s when the technology got into its footsteps, but in the 90s it was in thriving situation, and we got to experience the development of technology with the development of our livelihood. Like we saw the offline part of the world as well, but now if there is no internet, I think we barely use our electronic devices. But in our days, there used to be electronic devices without internet as well, and they were used for purposes. And then before that there were typewriters and other things. And coming today, now we are in the kind of like we used to talk about digital divide, and now we are in the age where we talk about AI divide. Like, so this is kind of situation, but still there's a very kind of situation where we need to separate global north and global south, because we have existing traditional gaps as well. We have literacy gaps, we have digital gaps, and we have AI gap. Like you need to have first literacy, and then like you need to have digital access, and then you can have access to AI and other emerging technologies. But we have all the three gaps, like so. But today's young people have chances to thrive with all the technologies, and they have literacy, they have access to AI technologies and other emerging technologies as well. So the point here is, how do we actually segregate, or like how do we separate the what is the maximum limit that we can use the technology, or are we leveraging technology for good, or are this technology always useful? Aren't there any threats? Well, teens and like young people are using the internet along with the uh, opportunities that it provides. We are seeing so much of threats that are now aided by AI and all kinds of things. And another thing relating to education is, now we are using generative AI, and we believe that some children and young people might believe that the content generated by the generative AI applications is legitimate. That is another issue, because people don't know what legitimate or what is the originality of the content. People might not know, so we need that kind of literacy now. It is not like we need to regulate or like we need to ban those kind of users, but we need to teach people how they can leverage this internet and other aided technologies like AI, and there might be another technology sooner. Like they need to be taught, or like we need to have capacity building digital literacy programs that enables them to properly utilize this technology. I'll stop here for the first round, and I think we'll be definitely going for second round. Thank you.
Thank you, Ananda. You point out very important topics. I mean, there is not just digital divide, but only digital literacy. There is also other divide, gender gap, which are very important, especially in the youth. As you mentioned, we are coming or raising now with those kind of technologies every day, but still it's a good thing. And also another points, which we're going to come back later with the questions. Now I would give the floor to Muhammad Kamran to introduce himself and give some personal state on the current situation.
Thank you, Marco. It is not less than an honor for me. So, hello, guys, everyone. Mohammad Kamran from Pakistan. I'm an advocate. I'm practicing in my own province right now. Also, I am with the IGF as a coordinator, and apart from that, I am with a lot of other organizations, but no need to mention all of them. I agree with, coming back to the point that how we see from Pakistan. Like I'll talk to about my own country because I belong to Pakistan. So how we see all of this situation, how we see what is happening around. I totally agree with my brother, with my friend, that the shift from digital world, digital computers to the AI computers was too fast. We couldn't see that coming. And all the teachers, students, and the parents, we are really confused how to deal with them and how to tackle the situation. Like most of the teachers nowadays in the institutions that I know, they're detecting the AI homeworks, like the students that have done homeworks with the AI, they are busy in detecting such homeworks. They do not know if it is useful if students are using AI. I'll just give you, like, I won't go to the explanations, which we'll be talking in a while. So, we lack literacy. And by literacy, I mean that students, they are trying to use AI, but they do not know the limits. And who are the ones who are teaching the limits? The adults again. So I think we have to start from the adults, and from adults, we will move to to the youth, because youth are the future of the country. So first we have to have some regulations about the AI, that what are the limits to which they are not dangerous. Because if we use a lot of AI, I think that is also going to be a bit dangerous. So we'll talk about this in details, inshallah, in a while. That was a brief situation from my own. Talk about this in a while. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Muhammad. Yes, I mean the future is AI, so I think we're gonna more and more use it AI, but we're gonna see later if there is any what we can do about in the future. Yes. Now I will give the floor to Marcela Canto, which is coming from Brazil, to introduce and give some personal statement on the current situation.
Thank you so much. So I'm from Brazil. I'm here representing the Youth Brazilian Delegation, and I'm from Rio de Janeiro, but not the city of Rio. I'm living in the state of Rio, and my city is called São Gonçalo, which is the second most populous city of the state of Rio de Janeiro. Yet it remains a peripheral city, and I think we need to take like 2 or 3 steps behind to talk about education and digital education specifically, thinking about inequalities specifically of the global south. And especially when we are talking about public policies who will make change and make difference. But I will talk about this later in my presentation, so I will pass the mic.
For the introduction and on answering the question. Now I will give the floor to Ethan Chung for the last on the on-site participants to introduce himself and give a short statement.
Hi guys, I'm Ethan Chen and I'm a youth ambassador of One Power Foundation. I'm from Hong Kong and I'm not actually working for a job, so I can only tell you guys a perspective for education and a perspective of how we are educated. So I think in order to be related to technology, the education system is not enough because we're doing paperwork right now and we're writing normal writing and comprehension things on papers, but I think that we should educate something that is related to AI and or maybe other technologies, and the education system should actually educate us how to use the AI and how to use these technologies maturely, not only just how to use it, because we all know how to use it, right? ChatGPT, you input the question and it gives you an answer, but how to use it correctly, how to use it better, that it won't be against the law. This is the key point, and I think should be discussed later. Yes.
Thank you very much. Now I would go to the online participation. I would give the floor to Umut. Can we just, yeah.
Well, we see that these kind of technologies are a rapid advancement and gradually have those like taking by surprise, as someone you already say, and it's actually revolutionizing the industry and redefining the skill that we need to try in the modern workplace and the education system. Well, this kind of transformation actually presents not only a challenge, but also opportunities for educational institutions and individuals seeking to navigate this evolution of the workplace. So, in my personal opinion, I think that educational institutions must adapt to these changes to adequately prepare the future workforce. And I hope that we explore a little more on that and during this conversation, especially in the educational strategies that we can adopt to adapt these technologies and examine the changes in career pathways or different workforce that we can have in the future.
Thank you,
I think you can hear me well. I am Denise Leal from the Youth Coalition. I am from Latin American Caribbean region. When we first started to think about this session, this dynamic coalition session, we were in a dialogue with the DTC, the Dynamic Team Coalition, and we were talking a lot about how the future is changing and how it's changing right now, right in front of our eyes. And we have to think the work and about the work and the education in a very innovative way. We cannot we can't anymore think about the education as traditional as we've always seen before. We need to adapt because future that is already here is asking for it. We've discussed a lot about many things during our meetings to come to this session and to have a dialogue on it, not only thinking about the youth view as the 18 and 35 years old youth view, but also for children and teens. What is it like to be a student in a classroom where you are studying a thing that you won't use, considering that you actually will need to know about AI, about technology, about social media, and lots of other stuff that you are not learning in your class? So here we are today waiting for discussions on these topics and willing to hear you all. And I am super excited to talk about it. And I also will bring some aspects on marginalized people, global south, and traditional people also. So because we have to include them in the discussions and talk about them, and also about infrastructure, because if we are talking about digital era education and work, we have also to consider that there are people excluded. They are not there are people that don't have access to internet, proper access to internet. So we have a lot to talk, and I will, now that I've presented myself, I will give the word to you, Marco, so we can continue the flow.
Thank you, Dennis. One thing what we discussed it in the youth coalition between us, that it's youth coalition is from 18 to 30, and we represent the youth, but the youth sometimes it's not just 18 from to 30. That's why I think it's the teen dynamic coalition is very much needed, because nowadays I'm, for example, 29, and when I was studying or going to primary school, high school, I was still using the technology, Facebook, I don't know others, but it's not the same like it's now with the TikTok, with the much more usage. I know my nephew is using the tablet sometimes too. He knows automatically, so it's totally different viewpoint. And sometimes even we are as a youth still cannot represent their, how can I say, issues, their challenges, or what they are and how they are experiencing the technology. So that's very important, and big that this coalition should establish like dynamic teen coalition and get more and more involved to be also their voice heard. Okay, I will go now to one of the questions. I mean, in the beginning, Ananda mentioned that there are some more divide gaps. Karen also mentioned, Cameron, sorry, also mentioned that should also be education to the adults, because they are the ones who are teaching the youth, and sometimes the youth may know more than the adults. There we also had it, I think Umut mentioned that the institution get more involved. So I would ask the question, what is, I mean, with the current situation, we see that more and more AI is evolving, and all other advanced technology like quantum computing, robotics, those kind of things. But there is a big demand of the workforce shaped by the AI. So my question here is, considering this, which innovative educational strategies could be used that we can adapt to these technologies? So in the future, but maybe not in the future, maybe in the present, because most of this technology, depending on the country, are already taking over. So what do you think is the innovative educational strategy that we should go with that one, or how should we come to that, adapt, or I don't know, approach, let's say? I will get, I don't know who first would want to answer. You? Okay. Cameron?
Yeah. So as I've mentioned earlier, that the jump from the digital machines to the AI machines was too quick. I think we didn't see that coming, but yeah, it is what it is. So first of all, I think some people they see it like the strategy. We're talking about the strategies, how we can face all of these things. So like there are three ways. Firstly, people would be mostly adults, because the youngsters, the youth are using AI more than the adults. It is their thing. So the adults, what they do is they flee from the situation. Like they leave the situation and they go to some, like we are not seeing it, so it's not happening. Secondly is that they fight for it, like they fight against it, that you shouldn't be doing this. As I've mentioned earlier, that most of the adult teachers, they're busy in detecting the homeworks that have been done by AI. I think that is also wrong. That is injustice. If a kid is able to solve his homework with the help of an AI, it is just another this is just another tool that is here to help us. As our vehicles are here, as other technologies are here, I think AI is also here to help us if we do not cross the dangerous limits. We'll talk about that as well. But this is the second one. Like we shouldn't be fighting it as well. Then what should we do about it? I think we should adopt to it. That let's not flee from it. Let's not run from it. Let's not fight it either. Let's adopt to it. Why not we adopt to it? Because like this is the future. At like we cannot say that AI is not happening, and I'm not going to allow that adults who say that let's do it the old fashioned way. I think that is also wrong, because if there is something, this is as if we would say that let's not go to that place by our vehicle. Let's not use the aeroplanes. Why not to use horses? It is the same to me.
No, they're
So
just listening.
so yeah, using AI is not bad, but to a certain limit. Like so, I think the strategy that we should that we should adopt is the adaptation to the situation, adaptation to the AI, and also there should be some regulations that to what limit AI, and not only AI but all the other technologies that you mentioned earlier, of course. But as AI is the boss, we know that. So that is why I'm mentioning, I am referring to AI again and again. So yeah, we should have some regulations. We should have some limits. Like this is the limit. This is but yeah, who's like then you'll ask us, you'll ask me that who's gonna watch over a kid with an iPad? As Marco has mentioned, that our children, like our people, like the babies, they know how to turn on the Wi-Fi. They'd go to the YouTube, they'd search for the shark, so baby shark. Yeah, I think all of you know that. So our kids, they do know about all these things. When we were kids, we didn't even know how to turn on a mobile phone. Like we'd ask our parents to please open the snake game for us. We'd be playing the snake games. I don't know if you guys have done that, but nowadays kids have adopted it, and I think we shouldn't stop their way, but we should teach them their limitations, because if they exceed their limitations, their screen time increases, that is going to be a bit dangerous, because we do not want machines in the future. We want humans. We want them to have feelings. And we'll be talking about the future strategies, inshallah. I have a point in that too, but all in good times. I'll get back to that in that question. But now we are talking about the present strategies. So I think the biggest strategy, and to me the simple most strategy, I'll say this in very simple words, is the adaptation to the situation. We shouldn't run from it. We should adapt to it, because as it is said that when we do the reconstruction of a house, let's say that we are like the beautification or something like that. If we want beautification in this room, we'll demolish one wall of the room only to reconstruct it in a better way. So I think like if we do not run from the situation, let's reconstruct it in a better way. Like let's do the beautification in it. Let's beautify it. Let's make it in another way. If this is not working, let's do this in another way, in the modern way that is needed. So yeah, that's from my side. Thank you, Marco.
Thank you for your deep answer, I would say. And thank you for pointing out that there's many, many more things that are included here. It's not just one thing, and that the AI is part of all of that I mentioned. Robotics, in every technology that we are using now, AI is a part. So as you mentioned, AI is the main component or the boss. I would give the floor to Umut now, if he can share also some experience on this question, and then we're going to revert on site to someone.
Actually think on this question every day, because and I not only his teacher in university, but also in high school. When actually I had teens from 13 to 18 and 70 using AI in my classroom. And besides thinking on ways on how they are using it to as a tool, I start to explaining to them that most of the answers probably are not exactly correct. So I started to use the tool in a different way than everyone else. So one of the things that I do is to put the actual tool into test in the classroom, so they actually can know exactly what are the limits of the tool inside of the classroom. So they actually can know the implication of using that technology by experience. So that's one of the things that I think it should be incorporated in the curriculum when it comes to emerging technologies, is having to use the technology and the implication of that technology by experience. So the students actually going to know beforehand in really early stages, as I do in my case, because most of my students has 12 or 13 years. So they're really young. So they, from that age, they already starting to learn what are the implications of using that and what is the limit of using that. Another thing that I started to find out in my practice as a school teacher is that not only this hands-on experience or the real-world applications and early exposure is also the interdisciplinary approach to this to the use of these technologies is also really helpful, because it gives them a more holistic way of understanding how these technologies can be used and how this technology can actually help them to improve their daily lives. Another thing that I will try to do in my classroom is actually create some critical thinking and problem solving. Is to use this tool the different tools as a way to improve their analytical thinking and problem solving skills, and try to give them some abilities to adapt to these new challenges. Another things that I try to improve there is not to demonize or to be against these technologies in the classroom. I just wanted to understand that what is there actually could help them also to increase the creativity, increase the design thinking, and ability to generate solutions to new ideas. This could be the pinpoint to another solutions or what the problems that they have. So that's what I'm trying to do. And another thing that I use this kind of tools in the classroom, and I think it's important to have it, besides all the things that I already said, is to understand that this tool could also have a important role of creating collaborative efforts inside of a classroom and outside of the classroom. Because if you have these different kind of tools to resolve a problem in a real life context, you will actually have to work together and collaborate between peers. So that is important. That is an important ability, not only in our educational system, but for all life. Or when we going to start to work in some, I don't know, so important entrepreneurs or something like that, we going to work with people and we're going to collaborate together. So we need to adapt it to have these technologies inside of the classroom, but thinking on the future of the workforce. Yeah, that will be all for my side now.
Thank you very much, Umut, for sharing Now I will give the floor maybe to Marcela to give more on the Global South and those opinions.
I think to answer your question, it's crucial to consider that digital skills must be included in the curriculum of basic education. The changes I think that people used to see as a have to, I see as a must to. There's a misconception around the use of digital device will take the educational process more innovative. Some examples are using tablets in class or using AI to increase productivity, but it's a mistake. If education doesn't challenge social structures because social structures that perpetuate inequality, discrimination, and oppression, then it's not really innovative because it doesn't promote significant change there. We are now experiencing a new configuration of colonialism. Derivation and international division of labor continues, but in a new guise. While the global north has large technology companies that employ CEOs and software engineers, we in the south are left with the worst jobs, whether it's mining for processor production or removing objectionable content from the internet. Technology alone will not save us for our problems because technology is not neutral. There is always a purpose and a bias. What I mean is that if the global south maintains the colonial logic, the structure remains the same. Eurocentrism remains the same. The underemployment that even with adopt technology, the global south will continue to be under employment and all of that context of dependent capitalism. Our development will still be under development because it is still operating the colonial system where the south feeds the north in an unequal relationship, not only with raw materials, but also with precarious labor. So I believe is that the curriculum in digital education needs to focus on training technology creators, not just average users with common digital competencies and non-technical know-how. We don't need only competencies, as promoted, for example, as a document of UNESCO called Global Citizens for Education. We must have systemized and historically accumulated knowledge that enables critical think, because through this, we will be able to criticize and transform reality. And I need to highlight that curriculum is power. The curriculum in basic education is what is projected as a society. And curriculum produces ways of being, existing, and interpreting the world. When a current problem in a region or a need of some group of population are not included in the curriculum, it's also a political decision. If technology curriculum does not address race, gender, class, is this curriculum truly emancipatory and effective in changing the current scenario and combating online violence? Does this curriculum really manage to significant change in a way that impacts the collectivity, or just one or another individual will be able to ascend economically and socially different for the community? Does this curriculum empower people who are not recognized as knowledge producers and whose very humanity has been denied to justify subjugation of people in the colonial process? A process that ensured the exploitation of all the possible forms of the global south and development in the north south. In addition, can we produce a society of technology creators who will behave ethically if the curriculum does not proactively combat diverse forms of discrimination? That say, I don't think it's possible for a single person or even a single stakeholder group to point out effective solutions to such a complex and profound issue. But I would like to use the space granted to me at the IGF to extend an invitation to who are here, either in person or online, especially our colleagues from the Global South. How can we articulate an emancipatory digital technology curriculum that truly combats structures and propagate oppression? What are the needs of your country, your state, your city, and your community that should be addressed by educational policies? What are the latent concerns? How do we need to encourage different groups that are excluded to become technology producers? How can we organize a way that respect multiculturalism and the diversity of region and allows for global cooperation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for the bringing the whole perspective. I mean, it was more than us very good. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. It was more than going deep and explaining all the issues that are happening, and that it's not just one issue, but they are more connected. I would give now the floor to Ananda to give his opinion on this question.
Ah, am I audible? Okay. So my point is on this point, I think she has created a lot of food of thoughts, and being a bit late on the panel is like you can opt into whatever is shared already, like, and then like the challenge is I have to bring something new. So my point would be, as we have been discussing how it has changed the landscape for the young people and teens, the one we with the changing landscape, we are now also talking about digital detox as well. Some people doesn't have access, some people has over access, like
Everything.
so much of screen time, and then like the health issues is related to that, and then like the kind of social interaction that we are missing in most urban parts of the world. That is one thing, and another thing is um, we need to leverage these same technologies to provide same equal opportunities to the people who are in remote locations. So these are the very fundamental two things that needs to be covered and balanced, for for where we have like already access and other kind of thing. Children today are very tech savvy. I think someone told, I think Mohammed told that they can just find anything out of the smartphone that I have never been able to using a smartphone. But they will be overusing it at times, because what do? We go to the door in our house, and then we just send a text message. Can you open a door for me? We have like forgotten to knock the door, or like call someone to open the door. Like these are the kind of things. If we need something, we'll just text someone in the kitchen, in the home. We'll not opt in for talking with our families. If we are in a dinner table, we'll be like looking at our smartphones. And we can, like, when friends meet at the restaurant for a meetup, everyone is looking at the social media. So this is the kind of essence we are losing at one point. And another part is like there are some people who needs to have access to this kind of things. So the balance would be, we need to have mechanisms, right set of, like, I will share a case study for you. We were doing a youth IGF in Nepal. We had a fellowship calls for that, and I think there were 150 applications for 15 spots. And then while going through the reviewing the application, we found out that 90% of the applicants use AI to draft their applications. And the another interesting point is the 10% who didn't use the AI was not because they don't want to, because they didn't know how to use it. So sooner or later, it is not like we wouldn't be using AI or generative AI. It is that we have to use it. I do it every day, but how do we use it is very important. So we need to find out the ways. We need to teach, like someone was talking about integrating it into the school syllabus. Yeah, exactly. We need to integrate how do we people use digital technologies along with the emerging technologies, so that they are aware. And also we need to teach them, we need to know, or we need to have, I think there are not much researches done, what is the optimal time that they will be hanging up with their gadgets. Because we do it starting from a day to night. If you tell my kind of routine, I wake up in the morning, get in my desk, and start using laptop, and then like I think it's till midnight of the day. That's my almost routine. But like we need to have enough research in place so that we know what is the balance. in between, having social interactions, or like having time in real nature, and then like having using those technologies to kind of like foster our work, or like uh, someone was asking a question how these things can be done in rural context. Maybe we can use these technologies to empower education and everything in rural context, but at the first we need to know the nuances, that how do we do it. Otherwise we'll be just throwing a technology to people, will start using it. We can see, I don't know how popular is TikTok in other countries. In Nepal, people started making money out of TikTok, and then people started throwing their clothes out, like, because that gave them money. They thought that is the good way of making money. People were like topless, and then like uh, and they found out in a while that getting a nipple will block their account. They started just blocking their nipples and getting topless in the TikTok live, because they thought this is the legitimate way to make money. So, throwing out technology without education will be kind of like massacre. But we need to have technology in place. We need to provide access to them. Along with them, empowerment is very important. We need to know what are the right set of skills they need to know before using that technology. I'll stop here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anandan, for pointing out several issues here, especially the one for too much consumption and using of the internet, and where we have still places where they cannot have the basic access and needs to access to the internet. I will give the floor before to Dennis, and then come back to Ethan.
Some online participation, so I would like to mention before speaking. We have here a friend from Africa saying that we need to consider the UNESCO AI guidelines on ethical use of AI as a possible answer, which is pretty interesting. I was having a dialogue here on the online chat saying that in some countries we don't have regulations and we don't have basic informations on how to consider the use of AI and how to monitor, to supervise it. So, and a discussion here that our online friends have been talking about is that ethical use of AI is a major point to consider in education implementation, but how we supervise it, and it is a challenge to comply with the principles of the safety on internet. So it is also a discussion I want to bring because our friends here are telling us it's important, and we have some questions I would like to address. A friend from Bangladesh, woman IGF chairman, has asked how can remote work opportunities be made accessible in underserved regions? And there is another question, but I will talk about this one. It is indeed a challenge. It is important to discuss about it. We do have some places across Latin American Caribbean which don't have proper internet access. So we have some projects, some community networks that take internet to these places, and they also work with empowering communities to teach them how to use internet and all the internet network, and it's really interesting. But that show us that we don't only need to talk about the use this very futuristic thing which is using AI and technology in schools, but we also need to talk about the implementation of internet in some places and how we empower these people to proper use internet and telephones and mobile apps and all this stuff, because this is a discussion, and it's very beautiful to say that we are implementing technology in our schools. In Brazil, we have some places, in some regions, the schools of future, they are so called like that, because they implement programming classes as part of the education, and this is impactful. But we also have this discussion on how we implement the education on the very basic aspect of using internet. We also need to talk about the literacy of internet, of using internet. So I wanted to talk about it and say that I heard some very important things about this topic in Youth Like IGF this year. We had a session on indigenous people where a community of an organization called KIST talked with us, saying that when it comes to internet education, we need to provide language accessible internet education. So it's our very futuristic to include a language accessible internet education. So when it comes to technology, we have to provide language accessible education. So these people that come from different backgrounds, regions, and communities can also develop their technologies and create data and create information in internet. So I will stop what I'm talking now, and I will just mention some questions that we have here on the chat so that other speakers can address answers if they want. We have this other question here. How can we ensure ethical use of AI and data in both education and workforce management? Also from Bangladesh Women IGF. And we have some comments here. Another question from Gregory Duke is, I've heard that regulations could affect innovation negatively, and I like this new revolution. What should be considerations from youth leaders in policy input? And Sasha is asking, as youths, how do you envision AI to be used in assessments in education? That's it. A lot of questions, a lot of discussions. Now you guys get there.
Thank you,
Thanks, Marco.
Andis. I will give the floor first to the question that I asked, and maybe we will open later the floor to other questions from the participants on site and, of course, online.
Hey, okay. Let me take this off. So, first of all, before I start the pitch, I want you to keep in mind that AI is here, not for us to rely on, but for AI should be assisting us to maximize its effectiveness on the human society. So, here's the thing: when we rely on AI, it leads to a lot of misbehaviors, and therefore it will have negative effects. So, for example, my own experience. So last year I had an exam about coding, and then it's a JavaScript system, and what my friend did is he opened another website and he used the AI to generate a whole code that works, and we submitted it, but he failed. I passed because his AI generated code it's in Python method, but not JavaScript. So he failed the exam. And by this, we could tell that when we rely on AI, it will have negative effect. He did not process it in his brain. So what we need to use, like what we need to do for AI, or not do for AI, I should say, what we need to use AI for is we need to use the information provided by AI, and we process it, and we do a summary of the information that it provides. And so I think for me, I would like to be educated with the education strategy that I would want so that I can adapt to these kind of technologies is that some kind of project-based works. Because, so for example, we're doing a group project, right? And the teachers shall allow us to use AI beside of banning us from using AI. And by this, I mean that the teacher should guide us how to use AI correctly, and so we can know that that's how we use AI. That's how we actually how to process AI's information, but not only relying it to generate information and we use it. Because by that we cannot improve. That then we will stop here. The improvement of the whole society will stop here if we rely on AI. So that's a kind of educational strategy. So to enhance the use of AI, and yeah, that's kind of the educational strategies that I can give it. Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you, Ethan. I mean, it's a good point of view how we use AI, and it was for what, not just to relay. I mean, on the AI to use for our to approach our maximum, or to, I don't know, establish maximum potential, or to help to things that we can. I mean, we spend time much more on something else. I would now go to the two questions that Denise mentioned from the online, and after that open the floor on site if there are some questions, so we can proceed. The question that was asked online, and Denise tried to answer some of them, were the how can remote work opportunities be made accessible in under reserved regions? And then the second one was, how can we ensure ethical use of AI and data in both education and workplace management? The second one, or the second was, how can we ensure ethical use of AI and data in both education and workforce management? I mean, we mentioned something. I saw Ananda that he catch the mic.
Yeah,
Feel
it is
free.
about rural context. So I think I can talk about it. So the first starts with the access, of course, because without access, we cannot talk about anything else. So there will be, how do we, if she's no known to community networks or not, they are the last mile networks where community manages their own network, and there are a lot of funding opportunities available for doing community networks. That is the one how we can, and there are universal service funds that are available to take the access into the underserved regions. That would be a start. And then like having only access to internet is not not enough. Like Dennis mentioned, I was about to mention that as well. So if you take an example of Nepal, only 75% of the people are literate, like, and if people doesn't have enough literacy to access the content, uh, there might be a barrier by language. In Nepal itself, there are more than 120 languages spoken. So uh, having access to meaningful content would be more challenging. After we bring the access to the internet, having access to meaningful access is equally challenging and equally important. That's why TikTok thrive. You don't need to have much knowledge. You just need to either record yourself in your language, and you post it, and people don't need to do anything. Just swipe up, you get the knowledge, or like you get the content you want. And that is how TikTok got viral in Nepal. So those kind of platforms might be sometimes very essential to maintain the access to meaningful content, but we need to know, have the right balance, what contents are shared on those platforms. And another thing, I think somebody asked in the question as well, what is the right balance of over regulation and under, like, or what are the things that we can have ethical AI? So it is there might be three instances. One might be legislation, policy, or code of conduct. Among these three, I think code of conduct is very important because we know the digital world is just as mirror of our real world that we are living in. Umut mentioned in somewhere some days back, we have biases in society, and data are made by the society, and those biased data lead to the biased decision by the AI system, which is obvious. And similar on the how do we use technology, we have a kind of like non-ethical code of conducts that we do, misconducts that we do in the society, and same thing we reflect that in the digital world. So we need to have like good code of conduct so that we use those things decently. And the thin line between decency and indecency varies from place to place. So it is very contextual and it is very local, but we need to identify what is decent and what is indecent. So these are like very basic fundamental things. Of course, we need to have legislations, we need to have policies that promote these technologies, that provides access to the people where there are these are not under served, because there is no profit in the rural context, but it is not always about profits. There are ways to do it. Many agencies are doing it. Community networks are the very good examples which have been thriving in Africa and other regions. I think we can discuss about it whole day, but I'll end it here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, especially for the pointing out for the use and how we can of these technologies. I would give now floor to Umut because he can also relate to these questions.
Is the how we can ensure the ethical use of AI in education and workforce? Well, my answer to that is actually it could be quite obvious. It's actually remote to it's actually to try to get us involved all the stakeholders that actually part of the education system. And that implies to include even students as part of the enforce or making the rules, the rules to use these kind of tools in education. In education, the clear as possible. But those rules, let's say in that way, it can be not only as a recommendation or kind of best practices or something like that. We need also that the government start to regulate this the use of this kind of technologies inside of the educational systems, because the educational system or institutions, because there is a way somehow that they can be complemented, and actually can we somehow enforce or make accountable these ethical guidelines that we are putting into place in the different discussion or consensus that we get as a different stakeholders. In this case, I include the stakeholder from the students, even that means even include teens, children, or everything, on everyone that is part of the educational process. The other question is about innovation, and my answer to that is that regulation, it doesn't actually it also actually got innovation. It's actually, if you do a good regulation based on human rights, the innovation that you make and respect those laws that are based on human rights are going to last longer if you actually respect the human rights and respect the law. So innovation make it into a framework, and make it into a framework that respect human rights and the characteristics or the context of where those laws came from, actually made those innovation that long lasting in time, because it actually is responding to what the people needs, and actually is respecting what the people needs and what the people want from the society. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Umut. I would ask now the audience if they have some questions here. I know that online there is a lot of questions, but let's first see if there is. We have one question. I will try to use this mic.
I'm a participant of Youth Program Brazil. I work as a facilitator, and I'm here with the delegation. So first, I would like to thank you for your panel. Congratulations for all of you. I live in an indigenous territory in Brazil, composed for 29 towns. It's in Ceará state. One of these towns is called Brejo Santo, and that is cited in Brejo Santo, the third official indigenous school of Brazil. They have a curriculum based on their ancestral traditions, philosophies, and culture. And until now, they don't have access to the internet. I would like to ask you about the positive and negative aspects that they can face when they are connected to the internet in a very near future. Thank you.
I would ask any of the participants if they can just want to answer this question also online. Or to take the second one? Okay, you can. Just turn. Umut, just to take the second one, and we're gonna go to both.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Mariana. I'm from Youth Brazil also. Thank you for the panel. I think all all you said is really important. But my question goes a lot with the curriculum that was said and some things about the AI. I think we need to think, I'm going to be direct to my question. Given to the challenges faced by the Global South, such as digital exclusion of many young people due to unequal access to internet and technology, as well the biases built in technology systems, what public policies do you think can be implemented to ensure both technology inclusion of these young people also has high quality technology education, while ethically protecting these young people, individuals in labor market that are increasingly driven by technology skills in their CVs, like entering the market and entering all these things. And we understand that like English right now is something that you have to understand to insert yourself in the market. So technology skills also. So how do you guys think we can build these public policies for the future? Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would give you now the floor to Umut because he wanted to answer the first question.
Indigenous population, when they want to have access to technology, one of the things that I learned in the recent years is they have to decide what actually want want to access on the internet and how they want to access on the internet. They're going to face a lot of challenges as far as I see until now. Is that probably one of the main challenges is the language barrier. Denise already mentioned that before in his speech, that the language barrier is one of the main things that they're going to face. And then there is a couple of words in our region in Latin America where indigenous people are actually using the internet to actually protect their languages. So, for example, in Colombia, we have in the north part of Colombia, we have indigenous people that is called the Wayu. They actually trying to protect their language, creating a Wikipedia in their language. And they try now in the second stage, not only having a Wikipedia on their language, but also creating some specific capacity building on cybersecurity and another things in the language also. So that's probably the next stage, not only identifying that they're going to face the same problem as everyone else in the internet, but trying to make it in their own language and respecting the way they want to be involved in the internet, because that's the other aspect that it comes here. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Umut, for the question, answering the question. The speakers who would like to take the second question, or maybe also add something on the first one.
Okay, so hi. I think the second question is she asked that how can we regulate the useful, no, the positive use of AI and all of such things. I think I will go with what Anand here said, that it should be from the government, from the parliament, and I would like to add to it, and that is that it shouldn't be a taboo anymore. That let's not let's talk openly about what is right and what is wrong. Our parents, like, they tell us that this is right and this is wrong, but we do not tell the youth that new, like, you shouldn't go for the, I do not know, but something is in our head that don't talk about these things. We do not tell our youth people, like our youth, that don't go for nudity, as he has mentioned that. And on a lot of social medias, so the youth is going towards that way in order to make more money. I don't know, because like they get more views for that and they get a lot of money for that, so they are going that way. It's just a small example. Hacking, for example, is nowadays so into us. Like, sorry for moving from fleeing from the topic, but these are the problems that we are facing. So let's not give a deaf ear to this thing. Let's discuss it. But before that, it should be from the government. In Pakistan, for example, there we have a PICA Act, the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act 2016. It was promulgated in 2016, but these are only for the prevention of electronic crimes like cyber crimes. We should have such acts, such regulations by the parliament, which would enclose the hacking, sorry, not hacking, but the nudity, like very specifically. I'm again saying nudity is just a small example of the problems that we are facing on the social media. There are a lot more than that. So all of them should be pointed out and should be promulgated by the government, from the government, for the public, and they should regulate the acts. Only then I think we would move to the positive use of AI with 100%, like the positive, like we will have the positive impact of all the AI and all the stuff. So yeah, that's from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone? Oh, yeah, we have.
I think the first step to understand the needs or what we need to combat, I think we need to create and research the needs of locations, states, and even countries in a way that we know what we are facing, you know? To do the research, ask to local communities, to people, and in a way there is a interaction between government, private sector, and so civil society. So I think it's the first step. And then after that, we need to face these questions. I don't think only education, but education is a really important step to, we need to address like gender issues, race issues, class issues, and any other type of violence should be talked about in curriculum of digital education. So I think I don't think it's the only way, but I think it's really important. So thank you.
Thank you. I will go now online to Denise to see if there is online some questions and to raise some comments.
Here on the chat. There is also a participant that wants to speak, but I will before talk about an important topic that we've been talking here. Well, they've asked us about regulations and innovation and what should be our considerations in policy input. And we've started a discussion on regulations and how it's important that we get our regulations improved, because we have these very old innovation policies, and also the intellectual property laws, they are not really adapted to the digital era reality. So we have to improve our regulations, and we also need, and it's also another comment I made here and also that I've been making in other spaces, we need the United Nations spaces to connect with each other. You see, we have these the spaces from the intellectual property, and we have the spaces from biodiversity and climate change, and they are all creating treaties and impacting regulations, and they are all having discussions on AI, internet, and other spaces that encompasses the digital era and digitalization. But why don't we have these people and these United Nations spaces also here in IGF or in the United Nations Data Forum, for example? Because the thematics, they are related. So there is a mechanism a mechanism being developed to regulate the DSIs, the digital sequence information, but it's being developed in the UN Biodiversity Forum, and it's not related to other spaces. But how is it? Because it will impact internet and other things, and data specifically. So for me, the aspect is we need regulations to improve, to guarantee the safe use of internet and innovations that are inclusive, and we need them to connect these internet regulations and the other regulations. They need to be connected. They need to talk. These spaces need to have conversation. And a very important aspect of it is we cannot create a regulation about internet and technology without hearing the technical community, because we are going to create a law that doesn't have an effective impact. Because we will say you have to supervise it, but if we don't say how and why, without hearing the technical community, it will probably not be a good regulation with effective results. But I see some comments here, and I would ask our IGF person here in the chat if we can open Sasha's mic so she can speak. She wants to make a comment. May I unmute her?
We will see now. Hmm? 15 minutes.
No?
I would check now, but I think let me.
Okay. So,
Now should be able. She should
okay.
need to unmute
Sasha?
herself.
Yes. Thank you. We can see you and hear you.
So if you could hear the sunshine in my voice, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean, and it was such a riveting conversation. I had just one or two comments there based on the conversation. When we consider inclusive education, when we consider inclusive design, we also considered within the education spectrum, how do we design technology to fit the user? And so the user, the students, are at the center of the process. And it hasn't always been that way, but it is definitely the direction in which we hope that we'll take adaptive technologies and inclusive technologies and designed for the persons in mind. Just like the chairs that you sit on when you think about human-centered design, it's really the direction in which education and educators hope to take technology and AI. And that's the problem within itself, is that you have to be able to define the limitations of AI technology. And it's such a fast moving field that it's difficult to pinpoint. And so it's also important to consider, okay, before we even put that into the curriculum to teach students, how do we regulate it? How do we guide that practice and move from governing policies to practices to curriculum to the school content and then to the classroom environment, and the way in which we implement it when it comes to project or problem-based learning. So it's a very complicated issue that we're having right now. And that's within my field of study here at the University of Prince Edward Island. And so it's very, very complicated to really begin that process. And I would love to get a little more, idea of your perspectives when it comes to that particular space and what you have been experiencing. From the point of the indigenous culture as well, when you look at that transfer from physical space to digital space, what's being lost in that process? And so many parts of their culture as well would be lost within the process of that change of physical identity to digital identity. And you lose yourself in that process of digital exchange. So definitely, please, if you could give me some more of your perspectives within your education of how you see AI being used in the most proficient way when we can't really define its parameters at this time. It's such a fast changing space. Thank you.
Sasha, I would give who wants to answer this question, but I would try to make to 1 minute maximum because we are close to the end of our session. So, okay.
Hello. Yeah. So I think like the last point, I would just add to the last point that how we see the use of AI when it's like no regulations, we don't have anything on the floor, and yet we are using AI. So I think, as I've mentioned very in the start of the session, that all of us are confused. The teachers, the parents, the students, we are all confused how to make use of it. Some are saying that, okay, use it like the teachers, for example. I'm giving example of teachers again and again because we are here for to talk about the youth, right? But it is not specifically to the teachers. All of us, like some some say that it's good to use, others are here only to only to stop us from using it. So I think everyone is confused right here, and I myself, I'm unable to answer to the question that how are we, like how we are doing with this stuff, because we have nothing on the floor yet. 100% regulations, like we have the traffic rules, we have other rules, but we have generally the cybercrime rules and the regulations like that, but not very specifically to pinpoint this very issue. We have nothing on the floor. So I think we are confused that, but using our humanity, using our limits of humanity, we should, I think, only use it for the positive ways. We should go for the positive ways, and we should teach our children, we should teach our youngsters the positivity in everything, that the like the way we use positivity in our lives, we should do the same way in this issue as well. So thank you, that's all from my side.
Thank you. Because we are closing to our time, I will give to every speaker just maximum 1 minute to wrap up and what is from this, I don't know, takeover or action points that everybody should take and in consideration, or maybe it's actionable stuff that we should do it maybe to the next IGF or maybe even closer. So yeah, who would like maximum 1 point, just 1 minute, sorry.
The measure would be, it is a like common one, but it is a collaborative action. It is not a part of like one stakeholder can do it. There is a role to play by every stakeholder. So, but navigating the landscape it might be complex for people. So we need to make it easy. Like people don't know how to take internet to underserved places. So we need to make a loud about into networks, how they can be deployed, opportunities to do that. And I think we need a kind of transparency in terms of information available out how to do the things. I'll stop here for the sake of time. Thank you so much, everyone.
I think you should maybe turn on.
I think in the next IGF, we should have more debates about education and more debates calling teachers and educators, specifically that ones who are from the technical committee, and try to analyze more the public policies of each country, each continent, and have more of that debates, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
It's okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
All right, so it's so for the next IGF, first of all, I think I won't be here due to some because I gotta go for an exam, and so I won't be here. But I'll try my best to contribute. And I think for next IGF, we are all together here from different nations, different race, and to actually create a standard for people to know what we are doing, and we wanted people to follow the standard so that they know, oh, what's not suitable, what's suitable. And I think that's why what IGF is doing now and what it is made for. Yes.
So being the last speaker online, sorry, on site. Yeah, sorry. We're just confused online and on site. Oh, sorry. So being the last speaker on site, I think it's a responsibility for me. I don't think if I'll be able to wrap up as it deserves to be, but I think sticking to the topic, education should be more experience based. Like, for example, if we are going to go for something, we should once again, I'll go to this school or college, like the teachers should test the students on their experience. Like if they give them an assignment to write an essay on, let's say, the Riyadh, they're going to, of course, they're going to use the AI for that, all right? So, or the internet. So I think the assignment should be more like an experience based. How was your experience in Riyadh? Of course, the AI doesn't know about that. Also, about the meaning of something to them. Let's say what internet means to them. So that would be another way that they are going to contribute on their own to it. Apart from that, like they can ask them about the application of something, that if we have this mic, what is your application? Like, what do you think we can have, we can use this for? So they're going to put a lot of efforts from themselves, from their own mind and in their own heart. And apart from that, being humans, I think being human, I think that we should ask them about their feelings about something. That, okay, what do you feel about Saudi Arabia? What do you feel about the IGF 2024 that has happened in Riyadh? So I am sure each one of us are going to write, I think, maybe 500 pages essay on this. And so yeah, I think our education should more focus on ourselves, apart instead of like going for just a stereotypical kind of style. So thank you so much for having us. Thank you, Marco. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just give a brief 1 minute to mute. Dennis, maybe shorter.
Going to be fast is include educators and students from all the stages of designing, implementing, and developing the technologies that actually are affecting the daily lives. Pretty much
Thank
that.
you. Dennis?
Thanks everyone for being here. It was very interesting. I wanted just to thanks everyone, and especially I wanted to say that I really enjoyed hearing people from Caribbean region. I am glad for it, because usually we from Latin America lack this contact, so it's important for us to hear from you from Caribbean. And also I wanted to point that this was a session that was thought and created with DTC, Dynamic Team Coalition. Unfortunately, they are not here. They need to receive more support next years to be in IGF. But I wanted to thank Ethan for being here representing the teams, because he is a team with us, a very brilliant and intelligent one. So you don't even notice he's so young. And I really appreciate our debate. Thanks for everyone that joined, our speakers, not only from the Youth Coalition, but also from Pakistan and the projects there, and also from the Brazilian Youth Program and other programs here. Thanks everyone for you joining us, and we count on you on our next activities. We wanted to remember that we are on our election registration time from Youth Coalition. So if you are part of our mailing list, please register yourself. That's it.
Thank you, Dennis. And I want to thank you, everybody, to the online. Thank you for coming here and enjoying in this discussion. And before we wrap up, I would say maybe make a group picture while you are still on screen. So yeah, thank you, everyone. Yeah. Let's just make in the middle. Yeah, come here, I think. Yes. But they will not be or wait, come here, so they can also be seen on the. Oh. Thank you. Thank you, guys.